And the gentleman that's now joined me, thank you, Teresa, that was great. Thank you very much. That's joined me on stage, Kumar. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate it. So we'll roll right into the next one. So I'll let you introduce yourself real quick, your title and what you're up to now. Some of you might have seen you before. We've shared the stage here, but if you can just give a quick background and what you're currently doing now, and we'll jump into some questions.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Lee, for hosting it.
Thank
It's
you.
a great place. My name is Kumar Sokka. I am the incoming CEO for Acre Security in 2 weeks. Actually, a little bit about my background. I'm not from the industry, so I joined this industry about 3 years ago, and originally came from the manufacturing side. So I spent around 16 years working for a company called Rockwell Automation, and a lot of what I did there actually translates quite well to this industry, which is exciting to see. The last 6 years at Rockwell, my job was to help drive the ARR digital AI strategy. And I would say manufacturing is probably 5 to 7 years ahead of this industry in terms of leveraging the data, connecting the devices, understanding the ROI for the end user, which is a big deal, and how to leverage AI to make money. And so bringing that to this industry is really exciting. I think we're talking a lot about the things that I worked with and dealt with probably 5, 6 years ago. And it's interesting to see that same discussion, but we're moving pretty fast. And so glad to be here. Before Acre, I was actually 2 years as the president for Linellis too. And then once the transition to Honeywell, I moved over to Acre.
So talk to me a little bit about Acre. So there's been some transformation that's happened there with the business as well. So how do you characterize the changes that have happened at Acre?
Yeah, so I first always talk about Acre in kind of 3 distinct areas. One is the mission, the impact, and the team. When I look at the mission, I think we're all here for a very similar purpose. Why I love this industry was obviously how we look to protect and make people safe, secure, through our different platforms. I mean, I think it's one of the biggest reasons that we all love this space. But I think the other side of this mission that we try to accomplish is how do we solve problems, not only in physical security, but even beyond that. What I've learned from end users is that there's solutions to be solved when we bring systems together. And so from an Acre standpoint, that mission is very clear for us. And how we do that is through the impact that we drive, which is through 3 major platforms that we're bringing together, which is our intrusion platform, our access control, and our visitor management/identity platform. And we're very cloud first in how we're bringing that. Cloud native platforms, enterprise, that we can scale across the entire customer base. And I talk about the team a lot and how we describe Acre, because Acre has been founded by Joe in 2012, but the history of Acre has actually gone from the 70s. So when you're bringing technology, that heritage of technology in the 70s, and then combining it with the new technology of our cloud platforms, you're really able to bridge the gap of helping customers move over to leveraging the information, leveraging the data to the cloud, which then gives them opportunity to drive intelligence, to do things beyond just security.
Right. And you mentioned the other areas that you've worked in. You yourself, when you came in, you worked with fire safety in the communications sector. Can you talk to me a little bit about what experiences did you learn there that you're now applying to the overall business and help sort of shape the leadership, your approach to leadership?
Yeah, I think what's really exciting, so coming from manufacturing, then Linellis 2 is actually owned by Carrier. And so Carrier had a fire department, fire organization. It has HVAC, and it was those different pieces that were sold. And when I had the opportunity to go through the process, you learn quite a bit around the importance of systems and systems coming together, right? We sell a certain part of a solution to a building, but in reality, there's other platforms part of that, right? There's HVAC, there's building, there's fire, and people actually want to leverage the entire system to solve problems. And so when I think about the leadership of our organization, we're trying to build an answer that kind of brings all of that together. So our recent hires coming from Amazon and Google, they feel that same path is how do you bring systems together? How do you be more open? We talk a lot about that. But when it comes to the end of the day, really around is being more customer-centric. And what problem are you solving that can make money? And maybe I just give a tidbit. So once we started selling AI at Rockwell, I think we all struggle with how do you make money off of it, right? And actually when customers started paying is when they saw a value being made. And there are things that are autonomous. The beautiful thing about bringing software, hardware, and services together is you can actually do something with it. You can be autonomous. So if there is a security problem, you can actually shut down an area. That's an action, right? That is when people see value. And so when systems come together, so if someone occupies an area or doesn't occupy an area, you can actually shut off an HVAC area, right, and save money. So that is when people realize, okay, I can actually save money. And that's when people start paying. So when you think about the leadership of what we're trying to drive in our organization is how do we just think about our current platform? How do we bring ideas of the entire system of systems together to solve more unique problems?
Okay, so let's expand on that if you would for me. So, because a lot of what you're talking about too is sort of the traditional view of how we've seen value with our industry to now this emerging changes in what's happening. It's almost like a dichotomy between the two in a lot of ways. So how are you positioning Acre to stay either at the front or catch up in certain, however you want to, if we're being honest, there's probably areas where lead and lag, right? So how are you positioning the organization to be at the forefront of these emergent approaches, but then also deliver on the traditional side of the industry as well?
I mean, I think we got to be best in both areas. Do what we do really well, right? And so that's intrusion, access control, and how we manage our identity. But the other side of that is our architecture. And I think this is what's really exciting. Through one of the acquisitions, our architecture actually is very simple in a way where we've separated the integration layer with the architecture layer with a very simple API. And that's all very cloud native, right? Cloud is a way for us to get data and access data. You need information to do things like AI. And so if you make it simpler to connect hardware devices, and if you make it simpler to connect to the data, then you can actually drive this difference of the possibility of doing, further AI applications. And I think that's where we're trying to be the bridge for that, is not only do what we do really well, but also give the opportunity to access the information, whether it's within physical security or beyond. And that's where we're kind of branching into as well, is how do we bring that entire system together?
Okay, so on that too, then as you look at the past and the future and sort of where things are going, what are two things that you believe will fundamentally change, and what are two things that you believe will remain constant?
Yeah, I think what I love, what's fundamentally changing, and I'm seeing it, and I think it should change, is that decision makers at the end user are moving towards more IT. That's a great thing for us. One, they're bigger budgets. Two, when you go to IT, they realize the value of data. We talk about cybersecurity quite a bit, but bringing information more accessible to the cloud is actually more cyber secure, right? And getting off of the servers and local facilities and backroom offices, I mean, that's pretty dangerous, right? So I think the shift of the change going to IT is really good for us. Yeah. I think the other shift too is that end users are looking for more value where they can bring systems together. So I talk a lot about how do you bring the entire system, what we provide in physical security, with other systems. And so that bridge is coming together so you can actually do autonomous applications, moving from, in the pyramid, I always look at pyramids of information. So you connect devices, then when you connect devices, then you can drive some analytics behind it. When you have analytics, then you can drive it to some predictive solutions. And then you can get to prescriptive. Prescriptive meaning it's autonomous, and you can do things with action that's more intelligent. The more you can get there, the better what we can do to provide the solutions, and that's when systems come together, right? And then the two things that I think are got to be consistent, we all talked about it quite a bit, is the fact that we just got to be connected, right? Our power is the fact that we do want to integrate with each other. That is valuable for us. And I think the other side is the go-to-market is through integrators, and there is a software, hardware, and services have to come and work together, and I think that has to be consistent as well.
Wonderful. And one last question that was a call-in that somebody gave me that wanted to ask was, okay. Because there's a lot of conversation, people sort of defining it for you, so I wanted to give you the opportunity to define this if you would. When I look at Acre, do I label it as incumbent, reimagined? Like, what would be the word that you would use?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't go past the heritage of what Acre is, right? And so we have the incumbent, we have an install base, we have value, we have history, we have people who know the history as well. And then what's beautiful about it is that you marry that with our technology that we're bringing forward. our cloud native solutions. And so if I were to really say one term for us, we're that bridge, right? We're that bridge of bringing together, the beautiful heritage, the installed base, our home field advantage, with also the bridge to the future so we can move people and security forward. That's just not for our own customers, but it's also for customers out there that want to come for the journey.
Wonderful. All right, Kumar. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here and sharing your views. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.